Here I have a 2023 BMW X3. After driving it around for a few days, I'm going to tell you 5 things that I like and 5 things that I don't really like about this car. This is BMW's most popular SUV, and I can see why. It's an amazing car, but it's not perfect. So first, we'll go over the good stuff. So let's head inside. This car is very comfortable and the cabin is quiet. I would expect nothing less from a luxury brand like BMW. It's not as refined as Mercedes when it comes to ride quality, but it's a lot better than your typical Hondas and Toyotas. I've done some long drives in this car. It has reduced wind noise at highway speeds, and I can sit in these seats all day. Next is how versatile this SUV is. It has decent power, good fuel economy, and a great driving experience. This is where the X3 shines. Switching between drive modes actually makes the car drive differently. You can get 30 plus mpgs no problem while in Eco Pro mode. You can get a balanced driving experience while in Comfort mode, and have a pretty fun and engaging feel when in Sport Plus. In Sport Plus, the car holds each gear really aggressively, almost feels like it's a manual when you accelerate and let off the gas. The car handles extremely well for an SUV, and it shifts quickly. There's a drive mode to suit any mood. I have here the S-Drive 30i with the base turbo 4 engine. It pushes out 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It might not sound like a lot, but it'll do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. That's not bad for an SUV. It'll get 23 miles per gallon in the city and 29 on the highway, so it's efficient and quick. You can also bump up the power if you want. The M40i has a turbo inline 6 pushing 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It'll get 21 mpgs in the city and 26 mpgs in the highway. And then you have the cream of the crop, the X3M, with 473 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque. This will do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, which is amazing for an SUV. Next, we have some good tech and infotainment control options. You have to option out some of the basic features, but in general, you get good tech. You have this nice gauge cluster, which can show multiple things at once and have a map in the center. All the basic safety features are here, like blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, front and rear collision warnings. And I like that you can either use the touchscreen to navigate the center display or use the dial that's in the middle. When my phone is connected with Apple CarPlay, I just use the touchscreen because it's easier. But then when I'm navigating through the BMW menus, I use the dial. The dial feels solid and it's nice to touch. You also have 8 presets here, so you can set these to whatever you want. I currently have my preset number 1 set to the ambient lighting because I like to change that a lot. And then preset number 2 just set to Apple CarPlay. So if I'm in the BMW menus, I can jump back to CarPlay easily. Next, we go back to the outside and we go to the rear lights. So for any Xbox players who have played Halo, I think you'll recognize this taillight design. It looks a lot like the Energy Sword, and I think it looks pretty cool. And lastly, this car is very practical and a good size. You have plenty of cargo storage, and if this is not enough, you can lift up the floor and you have more hidden back there. You have good rear legroom with some creature comforts. I got some vents here. I can adjust my climate controls, even adjust the location. You get 2 charge ports. Center armrest with cup holders. It's not bad back here. And it's the perfect size. It's not huge and unwieldy and difficult to drive around. It's not too small that it feels cramped. It's just right in the middle. So you have plenty of space for storage, plenty of space for passengers, and it's easy to maneuver. So there you go, 5 pros to the BMW X3. If you have any additional pros that I left out, let me know in the comments. As I said before, the car is not perfect, so there are some cons. I found it hard to find things to dislike on this car. It's a really good overall package, but I did find some things that aren't so great. So first, let's talk about the overall exterior design. It doesn't look bad, but it looks a little generic to me. The front end is bland, especially on this model, the S-Drive 30i and the X-Drive 30i. The M package makes the car look better, and the BMW X3M looks pretty aggressive. Thankfully, this car hasn't been a victim of BMW's ever-growing kidney grills. They look ridiculous in other cars, so I'm glad these are normal sized. Next is the side view mirrors. They're kind of small and hard to see out of. I can't see as much out of them as I would like. The blind spot monitors are there to help, but I feel like I need to move my head more to properly see out of these mirrors. Next, the interior design isn't as nice as competitors. The inside is comfortable, and the seats are nice, but I don't think the center console situation is yelling out high-end luxury to me. Some materials are nice, like the buttons on the steering wheel, and these other silver colored buttons. The piano black finish gets way too many fingerprints, it doesn't look too great. And then you have some cheaper plastics mixed in as well, like in the climate controls. Also, not a fan of the fake wood plastic trim. Obviously, you can get better materials on higher specs, but I expect more from the entry-level model. Mercedes interiors look a lot nicer and more premium on the inside, so for the price, I would expect a better layout and nicer materials in here. Fourth, the BMW Infotainment software is a little clunky to navigate. Certain settings are not easy to get to and are buried behind menus. Most people will just use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but when it comes to changing vehicle settings, it's a little annoying. For example, I like adjusting the ambient lighting, and every time I want to change the color, I have to go digging through the menus for it. Luckily, you have 8 presets that you can configure to take you to your most often visited menus and settings, so that makes navigating a little bit easier. Lastly, this car is not cheap. That's a given, but there are some features that most rivals have that you need to pay extra for here. Some basic options in luxury cars like heated front seats, heated steering wheel, wireless charger, panoramic sunroof, keyless entry, these are all extras. Luckily, some of those don't cost much to add, but with a starting price of $46,900, I'd expect some of those things to be standard. So there you have it, 5 pros and cons to the BMW X3. Overall, I think this is an excellent car. It's sporty, efficient, and practical. As all BMWs, I'd be worried about long-term reliability, but for a new car, I think it's great. What are your thoughts? Do you agree or disagree with what I've mentioned? Anybody watching have a BMW X3? Leave a comment, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. See you in the next one.